China is Kenya's biggest trading partner, and in the last 2 decades, the relationship has shaped everything from the roads we drive on to the phones in our pockets. Some of these deals are celebrated as game changers, while others spark heated debate about debt, sovereignty, and influence. Today on the Kenyan Star, we count down the top 10 Kenya-China trade deals that are shaping our economy. Stay tuned until number 1, because it is the most influential deal of all. 10. KZA Technopoulos Partnerships. At number 10, we begin with KZA Technopoulos, the futuristic city being developed in Machakos County. China has been a major partner in supplying technology infrastructure, engineering expertise, and financing for the project. While KZA is still in its early stages, the China-backed investments are setting the tone for Kenya's ambitions in the digital economy. For Kenya, KZA represents a dream of becoming Africa's Silicon Valley. For China, it is a chance to anchor its technology companies in East Africa's growing market. The project is still a work in progress, but its success or failure will be a litmus test of how sustainable Kenya-China technology partnerships really are. 9. Giga projects in energy, power transmission lines. 9th place goes to Chinese-funded energy projects, particularly in electricity transmission. Over the last decade, China has financed and built thousands of kilometers of transmission lines across Kenya. These projects have expanded access to electricity, connected rural areas, and supported industrial zones. Critics argue that some contracts are overpriced or rushed, but the impact is clear. Factories, hospitals, and households that once struggled with power blackouts are now better served. By 2025, energy remains a pillar of the Kenya-China partnership, making power more reliable for millions of Kenyans. 8. Digital infrastructure and Huawei's role. At number 8, we look at digital infrastructure, with Huawei leading the way. Huawei has supplied much of Kenya's telecommunications backbone, including the national fiber optic network and 4G rollout. The company has also been central to discussions around 5G, positioning Kenya as one of Africa's digital leaders. While some international critics warn about cybersecurity risks, in Kenya, the partnership has made internet faster and more affordable. Startups, universities, and even rural schools rely on this backbone. In many ways, China has quietly wired Kenya for the digital age. 7. The oil and gas service contracts. 7th on the list are oil and gas service contracts. As Kenya continues to explore petroleum resources, Chinese companies have been heavily involved in building the infrastructure for transport and refining. From pipelines to storage facilities, they have positioned themselves as long-term players in Kenya's energy future. For Kenya, these deals represent hope for energy independence and new revenue streams. For China, they secure influence in a sector that could transform East Africa's economy. Though still in its infancy, this partnership shows how far-reaching the Kenya-China relationship has become. 6. The Port of Lamu development. In 6th place, we have the Port of Lamu. Built with Chinese financing and engineering, this is one of Kenya's most ambitious infrastructure projects under the LAPSSET corridor. The goal is to make Kenya a gateway for trade not just with East Africa, but with Ethiopia, South Sudan, and beyond. While the port is still ramping up operations, it represents a major shift in regional trade logistics. For local communities, it brings both opportunities and displacement controversies. For China, it is a strategic anchor in the Indian Ocean trade routes. Lamu Port shows how trade deals are never just about money. They are also about geopolitics. 5. Industrial parks and special economic zones. Halfway through the list, at number 5, we find industrial parks and special economic zones. China has invested in manufacturing hubs across Kenya, especially in Naivasha, Mombasa, and Athi River. These zones are designed to attract investors, create jobs, and boost exports. For Kenya, they promise industrialization and employment for its youthful population. For China, they create supply chains connected to its global trade networks. The impact is visible in textiles, electronics, and even automobile assembly. These projects may not dominate headlines, but they quietly shape Kenya's push toward becoming a manufacturing economy. 4. The Nairobi Expressway. At number 4 is the Nairobi Expressway. If you live in the city, you cannot ignore this landmark. Built and operated by a Chinese company under a public-private partnership, the expressway has cut travel time dramatically. What once took hours in traffic can now take just minutes. The expressway is controversial because of its toll charges, but it also represents a new financing model. Instead of waiting for government budgets, China built and now collects tolls for a set period before handing it back to Kenya. It is a bold experiment in infrastructure financing that could shape future projects across the country. 3. LAPSSET. Corridor projects. In third place, we have the Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia, transport corridor, better known as LAPSSET. This mega project envisions highways, railways, pipelines, and ports linking Kenya to its neighbors. China has been a central financier and contractor in several of these components. For Kenya, LAPSSET is about becoming the regional hub for trade and logistics. For China, it is about securing influence across East Africa through infrastructure. The scale is massive, the costs are staggering, and the timelines are long. But if completed, LAPSSET could reshape East Africa's economic map forever. Site 2. Standard Gauge Railway, SGR. In second place is the Standard Gauge Railway, the most talked about Kenya-China project of the last decade. Built at a cost of billions of dollars, it connects Mombasa to Nairobi, and there are plans for extension to Naivasha, Kisumu, and beyond. The SGR has transformed passenger travel, cutting journey times and improving comfort. For cargo, it has offered an alternative to trucks, though adoption has been slower than expected. Supporters call it a symbol of modernization. Critics call it a debt trap. Either way, the SGR is the single most visible outcome of Kenya-China trade relations. 1. The debt and loan agreements. And finally, at number 1, we have the debt and loan agreements themselves. Every major project we have mentioned has been financed through billions in loans from China. These agreements are the backbone of Kenya-China trade relations, but also the most controversial. On one hand, the loans have delivered infrastructure that would have taken Kenya decades to build alone. Roads, railways, and ports that are transforming the economy. On the other hand, repayment obligations are a heavy burden, raising questions about sovereignty and long-term sustainability. In 2025, the debt debate remains the defining issue of Kenya-China relations. It is the price of progress and the weight of partnership. So there you have it, the top 10 Kenya-China trade deals that are shaping our economy. From digital networks to railways, from ports to power lines, China's footprint in Kenya is undeniable. Some see opportunity, others see risk, but one thing is clear. These deals are not just building infrastructure, they are shaping Kenya's future. Which of these projects do you think has helped Kenya the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Kenyan Star. This is where money, power, and influence meet reality.